2020년 전재산을 비트코인에 올인한 남자 마이클 세일러. 그가 비트코인에 전재산을 투자했을 때 모두가 비웃었습니다. 하지만 지금은 비트코인 50만 개를 가지고 있어 모두의 부러움을 사고 있습니다. 1992년 27세에 자산이 단돈 0원, 2000년 IT 붐을 타고 자산이 95억까지 상승합니다. 하지만 2002년 닷컴 버블로 인해서 한순간에 자산이 폭락합니다. 하지만 그는 절대 포기하지 않았죠. 2010년 다시 1367억까지 상승하죠. 다음 2012년엔 자산 5468억 원, 2017년 9979억 원. 하지만 그는 아직 만족을 못했습니다. 2020년 마이클 세일러는 돌연 비트코인의 전재산을 올인하죠. 2021년 그 결과 그의 자산은 무려 3조 9,600억 원까지 상승합니다. 하지만 시장은 차가웠습니다. 2022년 코인 시장이 흔들리고 자산은 2조 1,800억 원으로 하락. 2023년 1조 9,100억. 재산이 거의 반토막이 났지만 마이클 세일러는 끝까지 비트코인을 믿었습니다. 그리고 대망의 2024년 비트코인이 폭등하며 그의 자산은 무려 5조 4,680억 원이 되었습니다. 2025년 현재는 비트코인 53만 개로 하나로 자그마치 70조 원어치를 보유한 마이크로 스트래터지의 창업자입니다. 이번 영상에서는 비트코인이 왜 이 시대의 해답이 될 수밖에 없는지와 비트코인의 미래뿐만 아니라 우리가 살아가는 동안 경제 시스템은 어떻게 변해가는지에 대한 비트코인 억만장자 마이클 세일러의 생각을 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
I want to talk about the Bitcoin revolution. And I also want to talk about rebuilding our global economy with digital capital. The world, as we know it, is based on 20th century ideas and 20th century technology. Stocks trade 9:30 to 4 unless there's a bank holiday. You can't do things on the weekend. Everything is slow. Everything is expensive. If we want to prosper in the 21st century, we need new ideas, and they need to be based on new technology. This chart you've seen before, I've popped it up. It's $900 trillion of global wealth. It's that $900 trillion, it's spread across physical assets and financial assets that are 20th century ideas, 20th century technology. And in the upper left corner is a little orange blip, the little orange asset that could, what we call Bitcoin. It's 1 trillion. It seems like a lot if you started with zero, but when you look at it against the greater scheme of things in the world, it's 0.1%. Here's another way to see that same chart. It's not 900 trillion of assets. It's a bunch of assets held for their utility value and a bunch of assets held as a store of value, long-term capital. When I buy a house, I want to live in it. But when I buy a bunch of bonds, I just put my money there because I didn't know what else to do with the money. And when you start to see the world as a big chunk of long-term capital, $450 trillion or more of capital, and you start to think about the way we store that capital, you see the engine for the revolution. The global economy struggles because we're relying upon imperfect assets and imperfect systems to store that capital. It's crippling our capital preservation. Many individuals and most corporations, they use financial assets to preserve capital. And this is the source of a challenge for us. Let's talk about financial assets. I want to keep my money for a long period of time. Start with $1 billion, put it in the peso, and the money is decaying in 2 years, right? A 98% inflation rate strips you of your economic energy or your capital. This is not a good long-duration asset. The Turkish lira, your capital lasts 3 years. The US dollar, under traditional monetary inflation for the past century, might last 14 years, but it's not like you have it for 14 years. The life is being sucked out of you linearly over the 14 years. Put your money in a hedge fund. What's the annual cost? It's 2% management fee and then 20% of the upside. About 4% a year if you're investing in normal assets. That means it's a 25-year asset. Treasuries, you're going to get a yield, but the 3.5% after-tax yield goes against the 7% monetary inflation. Maybe your money lasts 30 years. Silver, 22 years. Bar of gold, 62 years. A painting, 72 years. Land, the average property tax in the United States is 1.1%. That means your money is going to last 91 years unless the government reassesses the value of your property. So physical assets you might think might last 1,000 years. Probably about 50 to 75 years is the best you're going to do. Satoshi found a way. He gave it away, and he went away. And that's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is digital capital. That's what he created. Bitcoin's immortal, immutable, and immaterial capital. It's got an infinite lifespan. It's not being attacked by the forces of weather and entropy and inflation. It's immaterial in the sense that it's not in the physical world. It's not suffering from all of those parade of horribles that are the scourge of financial and physical assets. And it is the solution to our economic dilemma. The transformation of our capital from financial and physical assets to digital assets, it solves the problem that we're all facing. Now, how long-lived is Bitcoin? Well, take your Bitcoin and put it at scale with a custodian, an institutional-grade custodian. You pay 10 basis points. By the first law of money, that means you're going to last 1,000 years. The custodian might not last 1,000 years, but that doesn't matter because you can move the Bitcoin every year or every decade, and you can stay one step ahead of the custodians failing. You can't teleport a building. You can't teleport the King Ranch, and so Bitcoin is that thing that you can move. Say you custody your Bitcoin. You can self-custody your Bitcoin for about 1 basis point a year, assuming you buy good hardware wallets and signing devices and spend a day a year to keep track of it. Now you've got a 10,000-year asset. And what happens if you give it to the AI? Well, an AI or a computer program can maintain those private keys for the cost of electricity. You've got a 100,000-year asset. The AIs are going to want the Bitcoin. If they have a choice between owning the Bitcoin and owning the ranch in Texas or owning the bar of gold or owning the Argentine peso, it's pretty obvious what they're going to want, and you can see here why they're going to want it. Digital assets are in a class all their own. If you would be rich, and here's a very simple principle, trade temporary for permanent. Trade your ice cream cone that's melting for the peso for the dollar for the land, and the land for the Bitcoin. Trade the currency for capital. Trade something local for something global. Trade something physical for something digital. Trade the security for the commodity. Trade the commodity for the scarcity. You can't go wrong moving in that direction. So let's talk about some great trades in history, some trillion-dollar trades. Napoleon wanted to gallivant across the old world, and Jefferson wanted to expand in the new world. So France sells Louisiana to the U.S. for $15 million in 1803. The $15 million probably lasted a few months fueling the French army. It's gone. Jefferson got that. He got 27% of the United States. It's an 800,000x return. Worth 12 trillion or more. It'll be worth more. How do you make money? Well, let's talk about individual Bitcoin strategy. What should you do? Make Bitcoin your primary treasury asset. Convert your excess earnings to Bitcoin. Utilize subsidized credit. If the government will loan you money, borrow the money at cheap rates and buy Bitcoin, and find a tax-efficient way to invest the Bitcoin. What shouldn't you do? Don't quit your day job. Don't lose your focus on Bitcoin. Don't use margin loans and trade with leverage. You get wiped out while you're asleep on a Saturday night. That's not good. Let's talk about corporations. Convert your capital to BTC. Convert your cash flows to BTC. Issue equity to buy BTC when it's accretive. Issue debt to buy BTC when it's accretive. Don't bleed your capital with taxable dividends. Don't surrender your capital with stock buybacks. Don't dilute your shareholders with risky, overpriced M&A activity. So Bitcoin is cyber Manhattan. Hundreds of trillions of dollars of capital are going to go there. We're going to demonetize Russian tundra and Chinese real estate and everything in Africa and all of the crappy buildings, everything anybody bought that they didn't need, it's getting demonetized. Satoshi Nakamoto, I'm going to leave you with one quote, kicked off the Bitcoin network January 3rd, 2009. On January 17th of 2009, 14 days later, when Bitcoin was worth nothing, and it was not going to be worth anything for a year, Satoshi Nakamoto said it might make sense just to get some in case it catches on. If enough people think the same way, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And never have wiser words been spoken. You're staring at $1 trillion of proof, but there's still 1,000x to come, and you have a lot more information at your fingertips. The writing is on the wall. Bitcoin is the future of capital. It's the future of money. It might make sense to get some because it has caught on. Thank you.
지금 이 순간에도 세상은 조용하지만 거대하게 바뀌고 있습니다. 오늘 우리는 20세기 낡은 시스템이 어떻게 우리의 자본을 갉아먹고 있는지를 살펴보았고 그 속에서 비트코인이 왜 새로운 시대의 디지털 자본이 될 수밖에 없는지도 함께 고민해봤습니다. 비트코인은 변하지 않으며 언제든 이동 가능하고 기존 시스템의 제약에서 벗어난 완전히 새로운 자산입니다. 개인이든 기업이든 지금은 결단의 시기입니다. 잠식되는 자산에 머물 것이냐 아니면 미래의 가치를 저장할 것이냐. 사토시 나카모토는 말했습니다. 혹시 모르니 조금쯤 확보해두는 것도 괜찮지 않을까요? 지금이 바로 그 혹시나 모르니의 순간일지도 모릅니다. 비트코인은 이미 시작되었고 이제는 여러분의 차례입니다. 감사합니다.